これからはマスズと呼んでください。
チワ。
私？
Our story involves a geeky nerd who despises everything about romance, but everything changes when the school's beauty queen confesses and blackmails him into being her boyfriend. What could possibly go wrong? Our scene opens with a thrilling battle. Eita, clad in full armor regalia and wielding a mighty sword, faces off against a ferocious dragon. Just as he's about to strike the deciding blow, his dream shatters, literally, when he crashes to earth, falling off his couch and landing with a heavy thud. Groggy and disoriented, he hears a familiar voice calling his name. Someone's at the door. Eita opens to find Chiwa, his childhood bestie, grinning broadly and excitedly announcing that it's time for a shopping extravaganza. Eita, however, quickly shuts that down, telling her he isn't interested. Chiwa's face falls into a pout, but she pinky promises not to buy any snacks. With that promise, Eita changes his mind and off they go. Once at the supermarket, the two friends dive straight into it. While shopping, Chiwa points out the changes in Eita, mentioning his single-minded hyperfocus on studying even though he's the top student in their class. In response, Eita gently reminds Chiwa that she knows his goals and all he has sacrificed. With that being said, Eita goes to grab veggies for their meal, making Chiwa grumble in distaste. Back home, after their shopping spree, Chiwa stages a mini protest against having veggies for dinner. She launches into a string of complaints, even teasing Eita about being a grass-munching plant eater. Eita, playing Gordon Ramsay, offers her the leftover pork with miso from yesterday, making her drool. Chiwa, thrilled, squeals and tells Eita how much she loves him. Homegirl definitely loves to be filled with meat. As they settle down for dinner, Chiwa notices Eita buried in a book and irritatingly seizes the opportunity to chat. She wonders aloud why he doesn't nerd out at a private med school, which might cut his marathon study sessions in half. Eita casually responds that while getting into a private med school might be easier, the Benjamins are out of his budget. Later that evening, Chiwa brings up Natsukawa Misuzu, a girl known throughout the school for her breathtaking beauty, and asks Eita if he'd hit that. Eita replies he's a Volcel, not an Incel, and asks Chiwa what rank Misuzu placed in her last semester's exam, making it obvious he's not simping for her at all. Satisfied with Eita's indifferent response, Chiwa excitedly announces her plan to transform herself into a total knockout by summer. Okay girl, we see you. The next morning, as Eita prepares for school, he takes one last look at the reminder on his wall, a firm declaration that he absolutely will not fall in love, while still trying to avoid giving anyone the impression that he might be gay. Bro is a Sigma Chad. When Chiwa shows up at his doorstep, they head to school together. During their walk, Chiwa suddenly asks Eita what he thinks of her hair clips. Easy now, flirt pro. True to his usual unsimping self, Eita simply brushes it off. But Chiwa, ever persistent, doesn't let it go. She excitedly shares that she read somewhere that accessories can really make the boys go loco and boost a girl's popularity. With that nugget of wisdom, Chiwa dashes in front of Eita, eager for him to get a better look at her hair clips. Reluctantly, Eita finally admits that she looks cute in a small animal kind of way. When they arrive at school, it isn't long before Chiwa is summoned to the faculty room. The reason? She's been going around school boasting about her plans to become poppy-cute and showing off her puppy dog eyes, prompting the committee to step in. Meanwhile, Eita notices couples everywhere and turns to his friend Keiru, questioning why it seems like everyone is in love. Keiru's smile falters slightly as he explains that being in love is far more common than being anti-love, like Eita. Burn. Curious, Keiru shifts the conversation to Eita's parents. Eita responds with an unexpectedly harsh tone, referring to his parents as mother-sucking losers. Damn homie, Keiru, taken aback, advises Eita not to use such strong language. But Eita remains firm, insisting that they truly suck for abandoning him to pursue their own romantic interests separately. Meanwhile, the entire school buzzes with excitement and curiosity as the school's princess, Misuzu, makes her grand entrance and heads to her classroom. Eita is already there, and his day takes an unexpected turn when their homeroom teacher assigns him a seat right next to Misuzu. The rest of the class looks on with envy, and Eita can't help but think that this seat might be a bad omen. All he wants is to study quietly and get into a top medical school, as it's his only way to repay his relative Siko, who took him in after his own parents abandoned him. As time goes on, Eita sticks to his routine, keeping his focus on his studies and paying no mind to Misuzu, despite the buzz she creates around her. Later at home, Eita and Chiwa sit down for dinner. Chiwa inquires about Eita's seating arrangement at school. Eita casually mentions that he's sitting next to Misuzu, which stuns Chiwa. Despite the shock, Chiwa remarks that Eita's demeanor is unlikely to change regardless of who he sits beside. The next day at school, Eita finds himself under the spotlight as other students watch him with jealousy and envy when he walks into the classroom. He hates it. During class, Misuzu accidentally drops her eraser, and Eita hands it back to her. Just as Misuzu starts to say thank you, Eita turns away, clearly uninterested. As the days go by, Eita can't shake the feeling that Misuzu is continually watching him. Then, unexpectedly, Misuzu flirtingly turns on her girl charm and asks Eita to walk her home. The entire class, along with Eita, is flabbergasted. But instead of feeling flattered, Eita irritatedly asks if Misuzu lost a bet. Bro's self-confidence is zero. Unfazed by his reaction, Misuzu smiles broadly and boldly declares that she genuinely likes him and can't stop thinking of him even in her, private moments. What you say, girl? Unfazed by the class's astonishment, Misuzu insists he walk her home, and she holds onto him like an obsessed freak. Finally alone, a frustrated Eita confronts Misuzu, demanding to know why she would make such a scene publicly. Misuzu initially responds with a playful shrug, but then she coldly admits that her confession was a lie and she reads him for filth. Bro, they even get into a strange argument about panties. And then Misuzu explains that since her transfer from overseas, she's been asked out 58 times in just 2 months. Wow, she's for the streets. Her every action or inaction has become fodder for gossip, ruining her reputation. Eita, trying to be helpful, suggests she just date one of the jocks who asked her. Misuzu, however, explains that she can't fake being in love, as she finds the entire love concept to be baloney. Eita's eyes widen in surprise as he realizes that they have something in common. She hates love as much as he does. Despite Misuzu's reasoning, Eita initially refuses her request. However, Misuzu is persistent and pulls out a notebook and begins to read from it. Eita starts to cringe at the diary's contents, but his awkwardness quickly turns to shock when Misuzu mentions Chiwa, describing her and other women as simple-minded pick-me girls. Eita is stunned when he realizes that Misuzu is reading his personal diary. Shocked, he asks where she found it. Misuzu reveals that she discovered it tucked inside an encyclopedia she picked up at a used bookstore. Oh no, brother. Eita curses himself for hiding his diary in such a careless place. The situation goes from bad to worse when Misuzu starts blackmailing Eita, gleefully revealing that she has saved all the entries on her computer and will blab it to the world. Cornered, Eita falls to his knees and defeatedly agrees to be her fake boyfriend. As Misuzu links her arm through Eita's, Chiwa comes barreling towards them, clearly ticked off by their PDA. Her sudden approach throws Misuzu for a loop. She turns to Eita, expecting him to explain, but before he can open his mouth, Chiwa butts in. She loudly declares she's Eita's childhood bestie and demands the deets on their relationship. Misuzu's face goes ice cold as she questions Chiwa's nerve, implying she doesn't need Chiwa's permission to be with Eita. Yes, girl. Chiwa, not fazed by Misuzu's icy attitude, starts listing off random super embarrassing events from Ida's life, trying to prove she's been around forever. Like, okay girl, we get it, you're his first friend, but definitely not his first girlfriend. In response to Chiwa's spiel, Misuzu stays cool and collected. She respectfully states that she'd love Chiwa's blessing since she'll be the one dating Ida. With that, Misuzu firmly grabs Ida's hand and starts strutting away, leaving Chiwa both stunned and fuming. Later, Chiwa vents her anger to Ida. She tells him that she's determined to find an amazing boyfriend and become the most popular girl he's ever seen, clearly upset by how the situation unfolded. The next day, Kaoru teases Ida about how he, who has always presented himself as no simp zone, now has the school's hottest girl on his arm and seems completely unbothered by it. As Ida munches on his lunch, Kaoru spills the tea about the latest school gossip. Apparently, everyone's got Ida's name in their mouths. Ida starts to get a taste of what Misuzu must have gone through with all that non-stop drama. Yeah buddy, welcome to the circus. Kaoru then spills about Chiwa's latest shenanigans, like how she's now ending every sentence with a meow and showed up to school with a piece of bread still hanging from her mouth. Girls out here straight up cosplaying as a cat. Kaoru then explains that this is Chiwa's attempt to climb the social ladder and find a cool boyfriend. Ida sighs in frustration, feeling hopeless about the situation. Kaoru advises Ida that if he wants to date Misuzu, he should at least try to make amends with Chiwa, who has always been like family to him. So, as Ida walks home with Misuzu, he tries to bring up the subject of Chiwa, hoping to address the issue and navigate the complex situation. Dude's got his work cut out for him, dealing with this mess. However, before Ida could say anything, Misuzu cuts him off, saying she already knows he wants to tell Chiwa the truth about their relationship. She makes it clear that she absolutely won't allow him to do so. Ida tries to argue, insisting that Chiwa would keep their secret safe, but Misuzu quickly shuts down his argument, explaining that once he shares their secret and it's revealed to be fake, he won't serve as her shield anymore. Wow, possessive much? Realizing Misuzu's point, Ida apologizes to her. They then shift the conversation to Chiwa's unusual behavior. When Misuzu learns that Chiwa wants to become popular, she smiles and tells Ida to bring Chiwa to her place the next day. Initially confused by the whole situation, Ida decides to let Misuzu handle it and comes up with a plan. The next day, Ida brings Chiwa to Misuzu's tea club. Misuzu, rocking a traditional robe, greets them with poise and gets straight to the point, directly addressing Chiwa. She mentions she knows about Chiwa's recent struggles. Taken aback and flustered by the remark, Chiwa snaps back, questioning why Misuzu would even care about her troubles. Misuzu, still keeping her cool, explains that as the most popular girl in school, she's gotten bored with her own popularity. She goes on to reveal she wasn't always popular, and it took her many trials and errors to get where she is now. Chiwa, super eager to learn more, asks Misuzu for her secret sauce. Misuzu then dramatically whips out Ida's diary, claiming it belonged to her first love and that she learned a lot about guys from it. With her Oscar-worthy acting skills, Misuzu brings tears to her eyes and begs Chiwa to let her help her become popular. Seriously, can this get any more dramatic? Chiwa's falling for it like it's some kind of K-drama. At first, Chiwa's got her guard up and is totally skeptical, but Misuzu plays it smart, suggesting that if she doesn't join the club, she'll end up working alone with Ida. This move pulls Chiwa right in, making her more open to Misuzu's offer. The next day, Misuzu starts chatting with Chiwa, advising that to boost her popularity, she needs to focus on a guy. After thinking it over, Chiwa admits she thinks Sakagami-senpai, an upperclassman and star basketball player, is pretty cool. That's right, aim high girl. Misuzu jumps on this and suggests Chiwa should start carrying a guitar, saying it's a surefire way to up her popularity game. To back up her advice, Misuzu humorously reads from Ida's diary, making him cringe with embarrassment. After handing Chiwa an empty guitar case, Misuzu tells her to just fake it and pretend there's a guitar inside. Following Misuzu's so-called brilliant advice, Chiwa drags the empty case to school the very next day. Instantly, she gets mobbed by nosy girls asking if she's a street performer and what kind of music she vibes with. Chiwa's a hot mess but tries to answer their questions. Major cringe. Soon, Sakagami's brother shows up and casually drops that his bro owns a ton of guitars. He then suggests Chiwa should play a tune for them. The girls are all in, pushing Chiwa into the spotlight. Meanwhile, Misuzu's just sitting pretty, acting like she's got zero responsibility for this whole mess. Feeling the heat, Chiwa decides it's time to go full insane clown mode. She grabs the empty guitar case and starts swinging it around like she's auditioning for a circus performance while screaming Dora. The crowd watches in stunned silence as Chiwa, totally embarrassed, makes a hasty getaway. Hilariously cringe. Ida looks over at Misuzu and sees her laughing like she's just won the cruelest prank contest. In that moment, he realizes he's never met someone as ruthless as her. After a bit, Ida and Misuzu find Chiwa chilling in the club room, sipping tea like she's not dealing with a dumpster fire of drama. While they're chatting, Chiwa asks how Misuzu and Ida started dating. Misuzu, being her usual troll self, jokes that Ida saw her panties, so she had no choice but to offer herself up. As she says this, she playfully hikes up her skirt, making Ida blush like a tomato and Chiwa look like she's about to pass out. Totally cringy, Chiwa runs to the loo, maybe to puke, leaving Misuzu and Ida alone. Pissed off by Misuzu's childish antics, Ida finally confronts her, asking why she's being so extra. With a sneaky grin, Misuzu admits she figured Chiwa would bounce from the club after embarrassing herself with the empty guitar case stunt. Ida, rolling his eyes, smiles and shakes his head. He explains that Chiwa had an accident that messed up her hip, and her original dream was to join the kendo club. But after that fell through, Chiwa set a new goal to become popular, which is why she's not going anywhere. Misuzu needs to chill with the petty drama. Chiwa's just trying to find her spot. Hearing Chiwa's sob story, Misuzu's whole vibe changes. She gets all up in Ida's space and purrs that she won't tolerate him getting close to any other girl, because he's all hers now. Classic Misuzu, always on some possessive trip. A new day dawns and always ready to stir up some drama. Misuzu grabs Ida's diary and starts reading it. Inside, Ida's created this cringy superhero alter ego, burning fighting fighter, who battles against some lame wyverns. As Misuzu reads aloud, Ida's face starts glowing red with embarrassment. Misuzu shifts her focus to Chiwa, asking her to spill her own past life story. After a dramatic pause, Chiwa reveals she was a beloved princess adored by everyone. She goes on about a prince on a white horse who proposed to her, promising a life of daily feasts with fancy meat. At this point, Ida's had it up to here. He stands up, voice charged with annoyance, and tells them they're totally butchering the concept of past lives. He insists they should add some real conflict, drama, and excitement. Basically, something that doesn't make them all look like complete jokes. After Ida finishes his passionate speech, he looks around and sees his audience completely stunned. Realizing he might have gone a bit overboard, Ida stammers, trying to save face. But before he can dig himself out of the hole, Misuzu steps in. She agrees with Ida's point, saying that drama should totally be part of their past life fantasies. Misuzu then turns to Chiwa and announces she's going to whip up an action-packed script for her to perform. Chiwa, still a bit clueless, asks if this will actually make her more popular. Misuzu, ever the smooth operator, assures her that her lover's diary never lies. Feeling like she's just hit the jackpot, Chiwa struts into the classroom like she's just unlocked some epic new powers and memories from a past life. She delivers her lines with all the dramatic flair, her voice booming through the room. To level up the drama, Ida jumps in, fully committing to his role as Chiwa's sidekick. He matches her over-the-top vibes, making the scene even more lit. The class watches, completely mesmerized, as the two bring their imagined past lives to life. is the cringiest thing I've seen in my entire life. After making a grand entrance, Chiwa pulls off an equally dramatic exit, leaving the classroom buzzing like a hype train. The students erupt into applause, praising Eita for his performance and eagerly asking if he'll take this act to the stage. Eita, still in character, gives a modest nod. Misuzu, watching from the sidelines, is totally gobsmacked. She wanted this scene to be all serious, but the class is losing their minds over the comedy gold. She's on her knees, muttering in disbelief as her serious skit turns into an unintentional laugh fest, while Chiwa and Eita are soaking up all the unexpected glory. Later in the club room, Misuzu declares it's time for Chiwa to shoot her shot with their senpai, Sakagami. Chiwa's like, "Is this really the moment?" Misuzu, dripping with confidence, assures her that after Chiwa's dramatic shenanigans, Sakagami will be totally smitten. Eita tries to drop some wisdom, saying it might be a bit too soon, but Chiwa cuts him off, dead set on asking Sakagami out. Misuzu, with that sneaky grin, teases that it's almost like Chiwa wants Sakagami to reject her. Chiwa, flustered, insists she'll stick with the classic move of slipping a love letter into Sakagami's locker. Later, while they're grocery shopping, Eita turns to Chiwa and asks if she's totally cool with her plan. Chiwa reassures him with a confident nod, saying she's got this. Eita, feeling good about her confidence, promises that if she pulls it off, they'll throw a mini party. But as Eita stays chill, Chiwa suddenly gets hit with a wave of sadness. She forces a smile, trying to convince herself that all this effort to win Sakagami's heart will pay off. But deep down, and we know the truth. It's Eita she's really after, even if she can't admit it to herself yet. The next day, Chiwa nervously slips the love letter into Sakagami's locker and waits for him on the rooftop. Eita and Misuzu are watching her like hawks, totally invested. To everyone's shock, Sakagami shows up with a sweet smile and tells Chiwa he's always thought she was adorable. He then suggests even though she scored a win, Chiwa's not exactly jumping for joy. As they head home, Misuzu proudly declares that her lover's diary worked its magic once again. Chiwa agrees, saying whoever wrote that diary clearly had some serious skills in fantasy writing. Eita, on the other hand, knows his diary is just a cringeworthy mess. Back at Eita's place, they set up a fancy feast to celebrate. But Chiwa just stares at the spread, her excitement totally MIA, still wrapped up in her doubts and disappointment. Feeling like she's hit her limit, Chiwa bursts out and asks Eita if he's really cool with her hooking up with Sakagami. Confused, Eita responds that the whole purpose of the club was to help her gain popularity, and that's what they all worked hard for. But Chiwa, totally losing it, starts crying and says she wishes she'd never met him because it's all been a waste. Eita, caught off guard by her drama, reminds her that they've known each other since first grade and are basically siblings. Bro straight up family zoned her. Chiwa, even more crushed, starts wailing like a banshee and takes off running like a scene from a Korean drama. Eita starts reminiscing about middle school. Back then, a limping Chiwa had shown up at his house just after his parents had bounced on him for their new love affairs. Despite all that mess, Eita vowed he'd learn to cook just for her and promised one day he'd whip up a bomb meal. When Chiwa's kendo dreams got wrecked, Eita decided he'd become a doctor to take care of her. Even though he was a total underdog student, he swore he'd rank up just to make her proud. After that wave of nostalgic memories, Eita bounces out of bed and bolts to the cinema, hoping to sneak a peek at the two lovebirds meeting up at the theater. But just as he's about to pull off his undercover mission, he crashes right into Misuzu. He asks if she's there to spy on Chiwa's date, and with her signature smirk, Misuzu links arms with him and says she's just there as the club president. Eita and Misuzu keep a low-key watch on Chiwa, who's totally dressed to impress for the date. Eita comments on her glam look, and Misuzu casually drops that she's the genius behind it. When Eita says she can actually be nice sometimes, Misuzu hits him with the ultimate burn, revealing she recycled her 6th grade clothes for Chiwa. classic Misuzu move. Eita immediately regrets his compliment. As time passes, Eita starts to wonder where Sakagami is. Just when it feels like the date might be a no-show, Sakagami finally shows up. But plot twist. He rolls in with a whole entourage of friends. Sakagami cracks up, making fun of Chiwa as he reveals it was all just a prank, and he had even bet that she was so desperate she'd stick around and wait all night. His crew chimes in, roasting her and saying a dude like Sakagami would never be into someone like her. Ouch, super burn. Eita's blood is practically boiling as he watches Chiwa's face crumble. Misuzu then drops the bombshell that she knew from the start that Sakagami was a total player. This only makes Eita's rage burn hotter. He's about to storm off, fists clenched, when Misuzu grabs his arm and pulls him back. With a dead serious look, Misuzu spills that she set up this whole mess not to be a villain, but to teach Chiwa a lesson about the shallow game of love. Her goal was to make Chiwa see how pointless it is to chase someone who doesn't give a damn. Tough lesson. Eita's face goes from chill to ice cold as he flashbacks to when Chiwa was totally wrecked and heartbroken when she had to give up on kendo. He remembers when Chiwa was all dreams and ambition, only to have it all ripped away. So rough. He turns to Misuzu, demanding to know why she'd mess with Chiwa like that. Misuzu gives him the cold shoulder, accusing him of already knowing she's got a shady side and everything she says will always be a lie. Okay, Miss Pants on fire. But Eita insists that even when people are downhearted, you shouldn't take their hope away. As he tries to bounce, Misuzu grabs his sleeve, showing a rare moment of vulnerability as she admits she doesn't want to be alone. Eita, not missing a beat, playfully flicks Misuzu on the head, joking about how her boyfriend will swoop in to save the day. Misuzu watches him walk off, her face turning from icy to stormy as she thinks about how clueless he is about the real world. Meanwhile, Eita charges ahead, channeling his inner hero, fired up and ready to tackle whatever comes next. Eita goes full-on chaotic, fantasy mode, flailing his arms and throwing off Sakagami's crew, who are totally shook by his wild behavior. It's hilariously cringe. He seizes the chance and bum rushes Sakagami, demanding an apology for pranking Chiwa. Sakagami and his gang are caught off guard by Eita's gutsy move, but not for long and stomp him with brutal force. Even though Eita takes some serious hits, he stands his ground, dropping some cryptic lines about some girl watching. Out of nowhere, a kendo stick flies through the air and lands at Chiwa's feet. She snatches it up like a pro and takes down Sakagami and his squad with some epic moves. Boss lady. After kicking butt, Chiwa gives Sakagami a polite bow and apologizes for the whole charade. She admits she never really had feelings for him and suggests they just forget about the mess. Sakagami, clearly relieved, grabs his friends and hightails it out of there. Chiwa bolts over to Eita, and they totally squash the drama like it never even happened. Meanwhile, some mysterious ponytailed girl is lurking in the background, totally blending into the scenery without anyone noticing, silently watching. The next day, the whole school is buzzing about Sakagami's shady behavior, thanks to his true colors being revealed. Kaoru fills Eita in, saying everyone is hyped up about his heroic moves defending Chiwa. They both glance at Misuzu's empty seat, and Kaoru points out that Misuzu is probably super salty about Eita playing a knight in shining armor for someone else and leaving her hanging. After school, Eita decides to drop by Misuzu's place and realizes she lives in the exact opposite direction of where he's headed. He has a light bulb moment that she's been walking him home all this time. Out of nowhere, Misuzu pops up behind him and gives him a super tight punishment hug. As they walk together, Eita finds out Misuzu's still planning to run the club like the boss she is, no matter what. Eita brings up their previous conversation, which makes Misuzu pout in response. Relenting, Eita agrees to keep the club running. In a surprising turn, Misuzu spins around and kisses Eita on the lips. With a playful smile, she reminds him that his first kiss was with her, not Chiwa. Eita, taken aback, comments on how bold she still is, clearly dismayed. Masuzu then reveals with a smirk that the whole moment was a parody of a scene from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The next morning, Eita nearly jumps out of his skin when he finds Chiwa in his bathroom, wrapped in nothing but a towel, trying to play it cool, but before he can even process that, Eita stumbles into the kitchen to find Masuzu whipping up breakfast. She cheerfully tells him she also emailed to let him know she'd be cooking for him. Now, Eita's in full-on panic mode, darting between the bathroom and kitchen like he's in some sort of romantic relay race, desperately trying to keep the two apart. But, of course, his plan crashes and burns when Chiwa and Masuzu finally bump into each other. When Masuzu and Chiwa come face to face, the tension in the air gets so thick, you could cut it with a butter knife. Their intense stares and the dead silence make it feel like the final showdown in a drama series. Eita feels like he's in a war zone, not big homie that just your harem's starting to grow. Speaking of harems, Eita also gets hit with an anonymous love letter. The sender gushes about having always loved him and wanting to reignite their past connection. Perplexed, Eita takes the letter to Kaoru, who speculates that the letter could be from Chiwa, adding another layer of confusion to the situation. With the mystery love letter still messing with his head, Eita rolls into the club room. The second he steps in, Chiwa is all up in his face, asking where Masuzu is. Eita mumbles something about her being busy. Sensing an opening, Chiwa leans her head against Eita, casually claiming she's just practicing what it'll be like to have a boyfriend once she hits the big time. This girl is out here flirting like it's her full-time job. But before Eita can even process what's happening, Masuzu barges in, keeping that icy poker face, and casually slams Chiwa's head onto the desk. Ouchie! After some playful bickering with Chiwa, Masuzu drops the next big mission: take on the troublesome hall monitors. Chiwa, eager to level up, suggests they recruit more members for the club. This earns her a backhanded compliment from Masuzu, who declares that since music can heal the world, the club should have its own theme song. Chiwa, not missing a beat, excitedly pitches her theme song idea. My connection with you is like a dog barking. She starts belting it out with all the enthusiasm of a TikTok challenge gone wrong. But Masuzu cuts her off mid-bark. With a deadpan expression, she critiques the song for being way too lovey-dovey instead of tackling the real issues facing humanity, because of course that's what every school club anthem needs. Masuzu then grabs Eita's diary, and with Oscar-worthy flair, starts singing a poem from it titled Rotten World. Eita goes berserk as his deepest, most cringe-worthy thoughts are aired out like last week's dirty laundry. The next morning, just when Eita thought things couldn't get weirder, he finds another love letter in his shoe locker. Before Eita can even process the letter, Masuzu swoops in, causing him to scramble and hide it like it's the last slice of pizza at a party. Masuzu's eagle-eyed stare catches the whole thing, and she confronts Eita with all the subtlety of a nosy neighbor. She demands to know what he's hiding. When Eita stands his ground and refuses to spill the beans, Masuzu pulls out the big guns. Blackmail. She threatens to expose his diary. Talk about a low blow. Despite Masuzu's shady tactics, Eita sticks to his guns, refusing to give up any secrets. Just when things seem to reach peak drama, a girl with eye-catching blonde hair makes a grand entrance, and Masuzu's whole vibe does a 180. With a smirk firmly in place, the blonde girl begins addressing Masuzu, letting her know that their parents are disappointed because they didn't send her back to Japan to find a boyfriend. Eita soon learns that the girl is Mana Natsukawa, Masuzu's evil baby sister. Mana reassures Masuzu that she'll speak well of her, but demands her boyfriend in exchange. Human trafficking, hello? Without a second thought, Mana kisses Eita, licks her lips and leaves in a limo. What the heck? As Eita turns to ask Masuzu about Mana, she reacts with anger, insisting that she doesn't trust him enough to share her personal life with him, just as he won't share with her. The next day, Masuzu is found lounging by the pool, wrapped in a towel. Eita approaches her, inquiring if she plans to swim, only to discover that Misuzu actually dislikes getting wet. As Misuzu lounges by the pool, a group of girls strolls by, laughing and speculating if she's covering up for attention. Stung by their remarks, Misuzu throws off her towel and decides to take a swim. The boys around the pool start cheering, but the excitement quickly fades to silence when Misuzu strangely begins to flop like a suffocating fish and starts drowning. Fortunately, Eita leaps into action, rescuing her and performs CPR. Misuzu soon regains consciousness in the infirmary and apologizes for her earlier erratic behavior. Baby Sis locking lips with him had affected her in ways she never knew possible. Eita reassures her that the kiss from Mana was meaningless and urges her to forget about it. With a smile, Misuzu agrees to let it all go. Later, Eita finds out that she was sick and heads over to check on her. In her room, he gives her a sponge bath and spots some chopsticks from their recent meal together. Chiwa reveals they're a keepsake from a special time they shared. That's when Eita suddenly realizes that the mysterious letters he's been getting aren't from Chiwa after all. The next day, while Chiwa and Misuzu battle it out for his affection, another letter shows up, this one inviting Eita to meet on the rooftop. When Eita makes his way up there, he's greeted by the ponytailed girl from the mall. She introduces herself as Himeka Akashino. She drops the bombshell that they were lovers in a past life, where she was known as the Burning Pudding Princess. The hell? As Himeka holds him tight, Eita freaks out and asks her how she knows about his secret alter ego, the Burning Fighting Fighter. Before Himeka can explain herself, Chiwa and Misuzu walk in on them, catching them mid-hug. As the girls approach with daggers in their eyes, Eita hisses at Himeka to keep their past life connection under wraps. When the girls question Himeka's identity, she reveals she's Eita's ex-girlfriend. Chiwa, shocked and fuming, demands to know if Eita's been dating someone on the down low. Meanwhile, Misuzu starts scribbling notes about Eita's life in her diary like she's Nancy Drew and about to solve a mystery. Himeka, upon hearing that Chiwa is Eita's childhood friend and Misuzu is his current girlfriend, has a total meltdown. She loudly declares that she's the only one who can be with Eita, turning the drama dial. Later, Eita is left speechless when he walks into the club room and finds Himeka and Misuzu sipping tea together like they're old friends. Totally baffled, Eita confronts Misuzu, trying to make sense of this new development. Misuzu explains that Himeka had shared with her that during Eita's fight with Sakagami as the Burning Fighting Fighter, she remembered her past life as the Burning Pudding Princess. With this revelation, Misuzu decided it would be a good idea to bring Himeka into the club, thinking it would be a win-win situation. Keep your enemies close, girl. Chiwa, however, isn't having any of it. She insists that Himeka is just after Eita and has no real plans to contribute to the club's goals. Misuzu, with her usual icy calm, counters that Himeka and Chiwa are twinning. The tension goes through the roof when Chiwa point-blank asks Himeka if she's here to get famous. Himeka grabs Eita's arm and declares that her only interest is him, completely ignoring the club's ambitions. Stalker alert. Misuzu wastes no time and pulls out Eita's diary, declaring that Himeka must be trying to catch the opposite sex's attention to back up her claims. She starts reading aloud about Eita's ideal types, cleverly disguised as characters from his fantasy world. The girls listen with a mix of curiosity and amusement, their eyes widening as Misuzu exposes his secret preferences. Meanwhile, Eita feels like his brain cells are melting from sheer embarrassment. Hearing Misuzu broadcast his private thoughts is almost too much for him to handle. Once she finishes her dramatic reading, Misuzu announces that if Himeka wants to join the club, she must express what kind of maiden she wants to be, through poetry, of course. Chiwa, not one to be left out of the fun, adds that Himeka will also need to pass a practical test. Just as the drama peaks, the hall monitors burst in and scoop up both Chiwa and Misuzu, leaving Eita and Himeka in the aftermath of their interrupted showdown. Left alone with Himeka, Eita seizes the moment to ask why she's so invested in him, especially since he's not her boyfriend in this lifetime. Himeka opens up, revealing that she once dreamed of making a big impact on the world. But as she transitioned from middle school to high school, she felt herself turning into just another face in the crowd, mundane and gray. Eita, however, stood out as unique, and the memories of their past life together gave her a sense of purpose and hope she thought was gone forever. Like, "Girl, are you being serious right now?" Delulu. Eita blushes furiously at this heartfelt confession. After processing her kind words, he admits that he left behind his fantasy life as the burning fighting fighter back in middle school. Himeka, however, passionately argues that he should still believe in himself as a valiant warrior capable of breaking through the gray monotony of the world. On their day off, Misuzu, Chiwa, and Eita find themselves scrubbing and cleaning the pool, oddly bonding over this rare moment of teamwork. Just when things seem peaceful, Mana shows up and drops a bombshell. Their father has ordered her to pack up and return to Sweden immediately.